Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I have a kind of long story time video, and it is the story of how my caterer almost ruined my wedding day. I've tried to record this once already, so this is my second attempt at recording this. When I recorded it the first time, it was only like a week or maybe less than a week after my wedding day. Tensions were still kind of high. I couldn't really gather my thoughts that well, and I didn't have the full story. At this point in time, I do have the full story, the full sequence of events. Everything has played out, and so I thought this would be a better opportunity for me to come on here and just explain the story and be able to explain to you the aftermath, because at the time that I recorded this the first time, I didn't know what was going to happen. I'm going to go ahead and jump in. But first I would like to remind you guys to please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Go ahead and ring that bell notification to be reminded of when I post new videos, and check out my other playlists. I've got playlists on college tips, I've got art playlists, I've got unboxing playlists, and much more down there. So be sure to check that stuff out if you would like to, and let's go ahead and jump into it. So I do have our new puppy Mila here in my lap. She does not like to exist by herself or on the floor at any point in time, so I'm just gonna have her on my lap right here, and hopefully it won't be too distracting. Hey! Oh my god. The cats don't like her very much, and she's not mean to them in any way. She just wants to play with them, but the cats are not having it. And anytime I sit on the couch and try to record, both the cats are like in my face, like wanting to know what's going on. So they're very curious, but hopefully they won't be too distracting in the video either, as long as they're not fighting with each other or fighting with Mila. So we're gonna go ahead and get into this. So if you guys don't know, I got married on October 30th, 2021. I do have the vlog up on my channel, so you guys can watch the whole sequence of events on my wedding day, us getting married, everything like that is already up on my channel. So be sure to check that out if you'd like to. I'm gonna take you way back. We have to go all the way back to the beginning. We got engaged November 9th of 2019. So we had been engaged for almost 2 years when we got married. So if that tells you anything about how long it took to plan this wedding, I mean, we were considering all of the things that were going to go into our wedding day pretty much like the day we got engaged. I knew who I wanted to be in my wedding party. I knew when I would like to have my wedding. I knew like what style I wanted to have. I was already thinking about this even before we got engaged, but we were planning this for a very long time. We didn't start booking vendors until closer to the wedding because we weren't sure where we would like to have the wedding at that point and what type of food we would like to have and things like that. We wanted to be sure of what we wanted before we put any money down on vendors. So we started booking vendors in early summer, late spring of 2021. So that included like our florist, the caterer obviously, which I'll get to. The venue, we actually booked the venue a year before our wedding, I believe in summer of 2020, so it was a little over a year before our wedding. So we had the venue booked, we had the deposit down on the venue. So our photographer was my husband's stepfather, so we had already arranged that as well prior to booking the caterer and the other things. We knew the florist personally, so we went ahead and booked her. We had been accumulating decorations and things for our wedding for nearly 2 years at that point, so we knew what our colors were, we knew what style we were going for, and obviously you can see that all in my wedding vlog, but I will post some pictures in here as well as I go through the sequence of events here. So we were looking for a caterer, like I said, in the summer of 2021. So we're talking like June of 2021. And I do have all the receipts, so I'm going to be going into all of the receipts, exactly what was said, exact dates, email threads, everything today. So you guys will get a full and complete picture of the sequence of events that did occur. The company that we had decided to go through for our catering was called the Happy Pinecone Cafe, which is now permanently closed, if you know anything about the sequence of events that happened here. At that time, the owner of the Happy Pinecone Cafe was Sarah Wilhite, and she had a brick and mortar location in Gatlinburg, which was only about 20 to 25 minutes away from my house. So, and she had owned this business for quite some time. She had good reviews on her page. I'd heard good things about it, and there were a lot of local and non-local brides that were using her to cater their events, not just their weddings, but like their bridal showers and their rehearsal dinners and things like that. So there were other people that were using her at the time, and she did have a very good reputation at the time that I inquired about her services. I have the exact email thread here, and I emailed her on June 10th, 2021, and the header is catering. And I will put all of the screenshots in the corner so you guys can read along with me. So I say, hello, I'm getting married on October 30th, 2021, and I'm looking for someone to cater my wedding and possibly also provide a wedding cake. My family and I were really impressed with the photos on your website, and we were interested in seeing if you typically provide both food and dessert services at the same wedding. We feel it would be easier to get those things from one place. I was wondering what you would charge to cater my wedding with 85 guests at the barn at Chestnut Springs, if you are available that day. Thank you for your time. So, like I said, our wedding was October 30th at the barn at Chestnut Springs in Sevierville. The location of our wedding was only about 11 minutes from the house. So we picked a venue that was a little bit closer just in case something happened. We needed to run back to the house. We were able to do rehearsal the day before, so it was close to the house to get all of the stuff over to the location the day before. And like I said, we had booked the wedding venue over a year prior to our wedding. So we had all of this stuff hammered out before we did the catering. And like I said, I even put in the bottom of the email thread, if you are available that day. I'm just inquiring about what services she provides, if she's even available to provide the service that day, things like that. And my mom and my now husband and I had all looked over her website and looked over her menu options, and we're really impressed with what we saw. And we did see that she did have some dessert services, but I was unsure if it would be like a full wedding cake service or if it was just like pies and, you know, rolls and stuff. The next day I get an email back from her. So this is June 11th of 2021, and she says, "Hi Kendra, I am available that day, and yes, we do both. I am attaching both of our menus for your review. Feel free to call with any questions. Blessings, Chef Sarah." Attached to this email are the catering menu as well as the private chef menu, and I'll go over exactly what those menus entail. But like I said, you can see that this is from her and this, you know, date and everything, and I have it flagged. She has a couple of different options for menus, and I'll go through all of the menu options, and then I'll let you know which menu we ultimately ended up choosing. So menu 1 is $15 per person, 2 meals, no dessert or drinks, and it's plus $5 extra per person for each extra meat option. And it's $20 per person with dessert and drinks, $25 per person with dessert, drinks, plates, and cutlery. So we were looking for an all-inclusive option, meaning we wanted someone to provide the full package of services that includes the food, the plates, the cutlery, the drinks, the cups, the cake, and also probably cupcakes for our guests. So we were looking for someone to bring the full package, which means we were probably paying anywhere from $25 to $45 per head for our catering. So I let her know that in the thread of emails, and I'll get to that here in just a second. Menu 1 is a barbecue style menu. It includes smoked pulled pork, brisket, ribs, or barbecue chicken. So you get 2 choices of meats, so you can choose 2 out of that list of items. Hawaiian sweet rolls, potato salad or potato bar. Potato bar includes bakers, sweet potatoes, and all toppings. Coleslaw or salad bar, baked beans with bacon, Coke products, tea, which is an add-on for this menu. You can choose to add drinks to your option. Banana pudding or strawberry shortcake. So obviously you can choose how inclusive you want that menu to be. Menu 2 is $20 per person, 2 meats, 3 sides, and a bread choice, or $25 per person with dessert and drinks, all inclusive. So the meats included in menu 2 are pot roast, roast turkey, chicken and dumplings, grilled or fried chicken. The side options are turnip greens, coleslaw, potato salad, green bean casserole, orange ambrosia, salad bar, sweet potato casserole, corn casserole, macaroni and cheese, mashed potatoes with gravy. The bread options are yeast rolls, Hawaiian sweet rolls, Mexican cornbread. The dessert options are blueberry cheesecake, cherry cheesecake, banana pudding, key lime pie, lemon icebox, strawberry shortcake, peanut butter pie, or butterscotch with bacon pie. I will let you guys know that menu 2 was the menu option that we decided to go with, and it's in the email thread what meats I chose, sides, you know, things like that. Like I said, we wanted a menu that was all inclusive, so we ended up going with the option that is $25 per person, so that includes desserts and drinks, and the dessert was meant to be my wedding cake. So menu 3, there's a couple different options. Once again, it's $15 a head with just 2 meats, 2 meats, $15 a head, or you can go for the $20 a head option, which is 4 meats and 1 dessert. So menu 3 is an authentic taco experience with pulled pork, steak, ground beef, or chicken. So if you choose the $15 a head option, you get 2 of those meats. If you choose the 20, you get all 4. So this is served with corn tortillas, flour tortillas, crunchy tacos, lettuce, guacamole, cilantro, white onion, grilled jalapenos, sauteed bell peppers, grilled pineapple, limes, sour cream, cheddar, pico de gallo, queso cheese dip, salsa, tortilla chips, refried beans, black beans, Spanish rice, and you can also add a shrimp cocktail soup for an extra $100, tamales $15 a dozen, pork, chicken, or cheese with peppers. So this is pretty much a self-serve taco bar option. Obviously I didn't choose this option, but we're just going to go over exactly what she offers here. So her options get a little bit more expensive as the menus go on. So menu 4 is $45 per person, and it is prime rib, lamb, roasted duck, horseradish, corn and crab bisque, beer bread, baked potato bar, salad bar, sauteed asparagus, and creme brulee. Menu 5 is $20 a head, and that's the only option for it. It is breakfast, partial on site. Chef prepares omelets and eggs cooked to order at guest choice of venue with full range of toppings including 5 cheese, spinach, florentine, red onions, bell peppers, cheddar, jalapenos, tomatoes, bacon, sausage patties, ham, homemade country gravy, French toast, fruit bar, biscuits, jelly, and you can add turkey bacon and turkey sausage for $2 extra per person. So we've got another menu here, menu 6. Got a couple of different options for payment. So it's either $25 per person or $35 per person if you add chicken parmesan and lasagna. It is kind of like an Italian bar. So got a pasta bar, capellini and spaghetti, vegan and gluten-free upon request, marinara, meat sauce, Alfredo, olive skewers, Parmesan cheese, gorgonzola, pancetta, sauteed red peppers, mushrooms, grilled chicken, grilled steak, breadsticks or garlic bread, salad bar, cheesecake bar, teas, lemonade, plates, and cutlery provided in this menu. Menu 7, it's either $15 per person or $20 per person plus dessert and plates. Gourmet burger bar, onion buns, ciabatta, all toppings, romaine, red onion, tomato, pickle, jalapeno, sriracha, mushrooms, bacon, blue cheese crumbles, Swiss cheese, cheddar cheese, pepper jack cheese, buffalo sauce, barbecue sauce. You get to pick 2 sides, so either 5 cheese macaroni, roasted red onions with garlic, bell pepper and onion, potato salad, baked beans, coleslaw, 7-layer salad, or a salad bar. So I'm not going to go into all of this. I mean, you guys can read, you know, all of these options here. This is a pretty long and detailed menu. She's got a bunch of different options. She's got 7 different menu options. She's got vegan options, charcuterie boards, grazing tables, all of that stuff you can add on for extra, and there is a video of all of those options so you guys can see all of that. And so the bottom of that menu is the private chef menu, which she attached separately to that email thread. So that is a couple of different menu options. I believe there's 6 different menu options. So menu 1, stuffed chicken marsala, served with garlic mashed potatoes and steamed broccoli or asparagus. Menu 2, beer braised short ribs with whole potatoes, carrots, sweet onion. Menu 3, bourbon Saint filet, filet mignon, grilled shrimp served with a baked potato and steamed broccoli with homemade bourbon sauce. Menu 4, chicken caprese, grilled chicken breast topped with fresh mozzarella, basil, balsamic glaze and served over a lemon and white wine garlic scampi. Menu 5, chicken cordon bleu. Menu 6, stuffed trout with lemon chardonnay scampi. Dessert choices, strawberry chantilly, whiskey bread, pudding, or cinnamon rum cake topped with a butter rum caramel. My cat's using the Lola rocks, so ignore the noises. She also does charcuterie for 2 option, which is $50. Cabin decor with charcuterie, which is $150. So she's got a couple of different options for charcuterie. Grazing tables are as what she calls it, which is kind of like a bunch of different fruit and cheese options, different things that you can kind of finger foods, you know, eat with your fingers. So she's got a couple different options there, and obviously I'll attach that so you guys will be able to read that and kind of go over her menu options. I'm not going to spend much more time reading over the menu or anything like that. You guys can obviously read that for yourself. Obviously I'll attach it. I don't think her website has it anymore, considering that the Happy Pinecone Cafe doesn't exist anymore as a business. So I don't know if she's transferred her old menu over to her new business, which she does have a new business. It's called the Malachi Cafe. I will go over that at the end of this video. Obviously, it's happened after the sequence of events that occurred here. So in the timeline, it happened after my wedding. But we'll go over that here in just a little bit. On June 15th, 2021, I emailed her back and I said, "Thanks so much for the info. I do have a few questions. If we were wanting to substitute a cake for the dessert options, would that be possible, and what would the price difference look like? If we choose an option that includes flatware and silverware, does someone stay at the venue to maintain the food and collect the silverware and flatware after the meal is over? If not, my family would be willing to pay someone to stay with the food. Also, would there be anyone on the catering team that would know how to cut a wedding cake to serve everyone? Nobody in my family knows how, and I'm afraid that we will cut it wrong and not have enough cake to serve everyone. Thank you for your time." So Sarah responds on June 15th, 2021 at right around 1:00 p.m. "Yes, we can substitute a small cake. I would highly suggest adding cupcakes and just doing a 2-tiered naked style cake. We can cut it, no worries. We can add servers for $50 each to help assist with everyone at the event. They would clean up and bus tables, etc." So I respond the same day and say, "That sounds perfect. I think we are wanting to do a menu 2 with pot roast, chicken and dumplings, mashed potatoes, mac and cheese, salad bar, and a wedding cake and cupcakes." So right there, I'm choosing my 2 meats with the menu 2 option, 3 sides, and the dessert option. So I'm choosing the $25 per person menu option with all of that food, as well as servers, plates, drinks, cutlery, napkins, things like that. I say we'd probably need 2 servers as well. Just to clarify, $20 per person includes drinks, flatware, and cutlery for menu 2 ? If not, we'd be willing to pay for those as well. Also, do you require a down payment and how much? We'd be happy to go ahead and put some money down. Thank you for your time." She responds the same day. She says, "Awesome," which my mom's email. "Yes, menu 2 provides tea and cook products, cutlery, napkins, and plates. The plates are disposable, but they are nice. I'll type up an official invoice. We require 50% down to secure the date." The same day, I respond, "Okay, sounds perfect. Thank you for your time." I believe later that same day, she shares a document with me, and she invites me to edit the following document, which is our invoice on Google Docs. So it says, "Morning, Kendra and Kristen," which is my mom. "Attached, you will find your quote for October 30th. Please send itinerary, wedding colors / style, and flower choices when available. I'd like to add an appetizer table for no additional charge that includes fresh vegetables, fruit, semi-graze table. We will be at the barn at Chestnut Springs celebrating another wedding. Thank you for reaching out to us. You can reach me anytime via text at her phone number. Blessings, Chef Sarah." So right here, she does say that she is doing another wedding at my venue. I don't know if it's the same day or maybe the day before, but she's already gonna be in the vicinity of my venue on or near the day of my wedding. So that's why she's choosing to offer an appetizer table for no additional cost. So keep that in mind when I share ultimately the email that I got on the day of my wedding. So June 16th, 2021, I say, "Thank you so much. I was also wondering if we could bump up the number of people from 85 to 90 just to be sure we don't run out of food." So when I did the official guest count for my wedding, 85 was right at or maybe just above how many people that we had invited. That I had estimated that maybe 75 or so would actually come. But I wanted to make sure that, you know, just in case somebody wanted to get, you know, multiple servings of food or wanted to try a bunch of different things on the menu, that we would have enough food to accommodate that. So I wanted to make sure that we overshot even the estimate that I had and just went ahead and catered for 90 people. And also we were gonna be feeding some of the vendors, so like the DJ, obviously the photographer was a family member, most likely the people who owned the venue, because they were going to be there helping with setup, breakdown, trash removal, things like that. So I wanted to make sure I had food for them. I wanted to make sure I had food for the bartender and, you know, ultimately the caterer and the servers as well. So there were a whole host of people that we had to have there that I wanted to make sure that we had extra food for. And I wanted to make sure that just because I thought maybe 75 people would come, I wanted to make sure I had accommodated for at least 85, which is the number that I invited. We also had to have a police officer on the location while we were serving alcohol, and I wanted to make sure that I had enough food for him as well. And some of these people were bringing family members too, because they were allowed to bring one guest. So like the police officer, I believe, brought his wife. The officiant who married us brought his wife. So, you know, once again, I just wanted to make sure that we had more than enough food. So I continue. As far as the itinerary, as I know it today, the ceremony will begin at 4:00 p.m. and last anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. So dinner will most likely begin at 4:30 p.m. The wedding party will arrive at 10 a.m. to begin getting ready. Pictures will begin for the bridal party at 1 p.m. as the groom's party arrives. The groomsmen will probably begin taking pictures at 2 p.m. I believe we are able to arrive at the venue to begin setup as early as 7 a.m. The wedding colors are dusty blue, burnt orange, yellow, and cream. We met with our florist last week, and we are going to see the venue Tuesday to see where the flowers need to go and let our florist know for sure. Thank you for your time. So once again, myself as well as the bridal party was to arrive at the venue at 10 a.m. to begin getting ready. I had a makeup artist on site that morning to do all of our hair and makeup. And that also included my mom's hair and makeup. I had 4 people in my bridal party, and then so 5 including me. So that was a total of 6 people that she had to do either hair, makeup, or both for. So I wanted to make sure that we had plenty of time to have all of us get ready and get changed and things like that. So, but like I said, we were able to go the Friday. So my wedding was on a Saturday, October 30th. We were able to go Friday, October 29th and do rehearsal and setup. So all of that stuff was already in the venue, all of our decorations and everything. The only thing that we had to do were like last minute things like bouquets, and like the florist came and set up all the altar and everything like that. So pretty much everything was already taken care of by the time that we arrived at 10 in the morning. And I'll go over what the invoice says as far as what time the caterer was supposed to arrive, what time setup was supposed to begin, and all of that stuff. So I sent her the information she requested on June 16th. And on June 17th, she responds and says, "Awesome, I will work on this today." That same day, she responded to me, the invoice says, "Just wrapped it up," and she links the invoice in the email. That same day, I say, "Thank you for your time." I forwarded that to my mother. And then eventually all of these emails got forwarded to a news reporter who did a story on my wedding, and I will also attach that segment in the video when I get to that point. So this is the invoice that she had attached in the email thread that we had corresponding between June 16th and June 17th of 2021. So the invoice obviously has the business title at the very top, the location of the business, which you can Google this, it's public knowledge, so you can Google her location, her previous location, and see exactly where it was in Gatlinburg. So I'll leave that for you guys if you would like to know that information. Has the invoice number here. The prepared date was June 16th, like I had mentioned before. Expiration date was October 30th, 2021, which was the day of my wedding. Prepared for Kristen Patton, Kendra Patton, which is my mom and I. The location is the Barn at Chestnut Springs. So wedding reception set up at 3 p.m. Ceremony begins at 4. Serve time 4:30. Colors, like I listed before. Also, please provide point of contact for day of, so that would either be my mom or my aunt or myself. We can be reached via phone or text message at her phone number, which I'm going to blur out at any time. For grazing table, there's an allergy from latex contamination to kiwi, banana, mango, and peach. So the grazing table was something that she had tacked on for free because she was going to be at that location on or prior to the day of my wedding. I'm going to read the email that I sent to her about my allergies right after I get done with this. So this is just for preference. I did let her know that I had allergies. And that wasn't really for my menu. It was just for what she was providing for free. So that's why I let her know after. So description of services: wedding reception, stainless steel chauffeurs, sweet tea, unsweet tea, lemonade, Coke products, 2 liters of Coke, Diet Coke, Dr. Pepper, Sprite, bottled water, ice, pot roast, chicken and dumplings, 5 cheese macaroni, garlic mashed potatoes, brown gravy, salad bar, ranch, balsamic vinegar, Caesar, romaine, grape, tomato, cheddar, cucumber, red onion, crouton, shaved parmesan, 2-tier wedding cake, naked style, 6 dozen cupcakes. Number of people is 90. Price is $25 per person. Total was $2,150. She puts a little note here: we will need 3 8-foot tables with tablecloths. We will deliver, set up, and I will provide 2 attendants to clear plates from guest tables. Chargers, linen napkins are not included. We provide disposable. Once colors are provided, I will send a few to choose from. So as you had seen, I read off in the email, I did already provide her the colors, and the colors are also listed at the top of the invoice. So she already had the colors, so I'm not really sure why she put this in the little side note here, but I never actually did receive a few selections of chargers or linen napkins or anything like that. So I had never actually received any preview of the options I had to choose from. So I honestly didn't even realize that because I was so busy planning and dealing with the other things related to my wedding. If you don't know, I do mention it a little bit in my wedding vlog, but the week of my wedding was very chaotic. I had a lot of things going on. Because I had most of my family coming from out of state, I wanted to make sure we could cram everything into that small weekend so that they didn't have to travel back and forth for multiple weeks at a time. The Thursday before my wedding, I had my bridal shower. We had all kinds of different things planned for that Thursday. We got our nails done. We went shopping, we did all kinds of different things, and then Friday, the day before my wedding, was rehearsal. So we did rehearsal, setup, rehearsal dinner that night, and then the next day was my wedding. So we had crammed a lot of activities and things into like 3 days time. So I had a lot of preparation and things going into this short span of time that I had with my family. So there were a lot of things that kind of got lost in translation, but looking back when I started reading over the invoice again, I realized I never received a picture or pictures of what these were supposed to look like for me to choose from, even though she had my colors on June 17th or even June 16th, I believe. And it's even in the official invoice at the very top that she had my colors. So for me, this almost seems like, looking back now, like premeditation. Like, she never sent me pictures of these things because she knew for a while that she was not going to be attending my wedding. The caterer ended up not showing up to my wedding. She did not provide any of the services that we had paid her for. She was paid in full before my wedding, at least a month before my wedding. And none of these services were ever provided to me. Looking back now, I know that she had not sent me any of these things because she had not been planning on coming for a while. So to me, that just makes it worse. I feel like she's given a lot of excuses as to why she didn't come, or, you know, things got in the way, or, you know, this was an accident, you know, it wasn't intentional. But to me, knowing that these things were never sent to me and she was paid in full a month before my wedding, that tells me that at least a month prior, she wasn't planning on coming. Because in my mind, running a business, if you have been paid in full, and maybe you've, you know, forgotten, you slipped your mind, I need to send her these things. She's just sent me the final invoice. I've been paid in full. I need to send her these things and finalize these last little details before I, you know, get too much closer to her wedding day. And you'll see as I keep reading through these emails that I had maintained correspondence with her all the way up until a couple days before my wedding. So in my mind, it's like, I feel like if you have been maintaining correspondence, at least you would have remembered to send me these colors or whatever, because in my mind, I'm going through all these things. I'm planning this wedding, myself and my family. We don't have a wedding planner. It's a lot for me to do. So things like this can slip my mind, if I'm not maintaining these things, writing these things down. But if this is what you do for a living, this is your business, I feel like that's something that you shouldn't slip your mind this easily. Even if you have other clients, this is just something that is poor planning on her part, because she had my full payment a month in advance. So she should have, been finalizing these details. Like this, I do take, a little bit of responsibility not emailing her to remind her, but I did have a lot of things going on. In my mind, this is something that as a business owner, you should be doing with your clients. This isn't something that only falls on me. And, this isn't something that I do professionally. It's not something that I ask for money from people to provide. This isn't something that I take people's money and I provide this service and I forgot to email, this correspondence. I feel like that falls more on her than it does on me, but I do take partial responsibility for not at least emailing her to ask, remembering that this is something that I'm supposed to receive from her. But, like I said, I'm going to go over all of the emails, all of the receipts, and you'll see that I had correspondence with her all the way up until a couple days before my wedding. So that's the first page of this. After tax, which tax for this service is $239.06. So the total amount due after taxes is $2,364.06. So that total amount was paid to her in full a month before my wedding. So we had paid her a good chunk of money to provide all of these services at my wedding. So that includes the full range of things that she was supposed to bring. Keep in mind, this is something that we had to turn around in less than 6 hours. We had to find some way to get all of the things that she was supposed to be providing the day of my wedding. So this is just, it baffles me even thinking about this. Like it makes me enraged once again just to think about how badly she screwed us over in this, because like I said, she'd been paid in full. So all of the things that she required to bring to my wedding should have been being purchased at this time. Like a lot of the things she should have already purchased with this money that I had paid her. And a good business would also be making a profit from this. So the cost of the things that she's supposed to be bringing is obviously going to be less than this amount that I've paid her, because she's going to be making a profit from this, So otherwise it wouldn't be a business, it wouldn't be a properly run business, It just enrages me even further to be looking back on this. And this is why I've had to record this twice now, because when I was reading over this the first time and I'm remembering all of the time and money and planning that I spent in this, and knowing that she had this money to be preparing for my wedding, she had the 50% down in June. And then, she had the remainder of the money the month before the wedding, and she still dropped the ball like so badly that we were left with nothing on the day of my wedding. It absolutely enrages me, and I'm sorry, but everything has played out now, forgive and forget. I understand, but oh my gosh, I feel like, and I don't want to come off as like bridezilla here, but I don't understand how, as a business owner, you let something like this happen. I don't know. Okay, I'm not gonna keep rambling. I'm gonna continue on. At the bottom of the document here, it says this quotation is subject to the following terms and conditions. 1. Catering services will be rendered following the Happy Pinecone Cafe receipt of payment. 2. Chef will perform all cooking on site of registered, insured, and serve-safe kitchen called the Happy Pinecone, located at the location in Gatlinburg. Any and all food-related allergies should be reported to chef 60 days in advance. 3. The general terms and conditions of purchases apply to this quotation contract. No refunds are allowed, but you are able to transfer your date to another time if schedule allows. 4. This quotation may be accepted to form a binding contract upon any one of the following options. A signature below and payment to Happy Pinecone Cafe for the items listed in this quote prior to expiration date. 50% deposit due at time of services requested. Remaining 50% will be due at the time of services. So this is interesting because Now, looking back, I understand why she had requested the remainder of the payment be paid a month prior to the wedding rather than the day of the wedding. Because here in the contract, it states I don't have to pay the remainder until she arrives on the day of my wedding at the time of services. So this would have been 3 o'clock on October 30th, 2021. But looking back now, knowing that she was in a bind with all of these other brides, knowing that she was having to provide refunds to them for the services she never ended up providing at their weddings, I know that she was using the rest of my payment to pay off these brides, to give refunds to the brides that she had also dropped the ball on their wedding. So at the time that I paid her, I did not know, like, none of this information had been out yet, you know, and I probably should have been, you know, checking in on her reviews, you know, even after that I had booked with her and paid her. But once again, this is something that you just don't think ever could happen. Like, I feel like if you go and you book a caterer and their reviews are all really good, she's got a 5-star rating, her food looks amazing, she's been very cordial, easy to correspond with an email, like she's been keeping up with you and checking in on you and emailing you, you know, all of these things. I feel like this isn't something that you should in the back of your mind be thinking, maybe I should go back and look at the reviews and make sure she doesn't have any new bad reviews, you know? Like, this just isn't something that comes to mind, especially not to my mind, when I'm thinking, okay, well, she's been easy to contact, her phone number's right here, she has a brick and mortar location 25 minutes from my house, she's got a great business review, Yelp reviews, Google reviews, everything looks great. So in my mind, I'm thinking, this isn't gonna turn around so badly in the next few months that I'm gonna end up not having catering services at my wedding. You know, like, how could this turn around, do a complete 180 so fast? Like, in my mind, that just didn't make sense, you know? And it wasn't something that I was anticipating whatsoever. And I really don't feel like very many brides would. I mean, you can leave your opinion in the comments if you want, but you know, it's like, looking back, I'm having a hard time not blaming myself for a lot of these things, you know, for the outcome of this. But I just can't in good conscience justify thinking that I need to go and make sure that her business doesn't completely do a nosedive or less than 6 months after I've booked her services, you know? Like, I don't know. I just don't, that in my mind didn't make sense. You know, it wasn't something that I needed to think about, you know, like, I don't know. You can leave that in the comments, your opinion, if you'd like to. A continuation of number 4 here is another, you know, binding contract option B. Deposit of $1,182.03 is to be paid by phone or in person at the Happy Pinecone Cafe, her location in Gatlinburg. The square invoice will be sent to you with your payment convenience. So we actually paid her via a credit card. So just an invoice, and we sent that money over from a bank account. So we paid her with one of our personal debit cards, like straight out of our bank. So it wasn't on a credit card. It wasn't anything like that. It was like straight out of our bank. C, congratulations on your wedding. We look forward to your big day. So we had paid her the 50% down, which secured the date and her services. Once again, we paid her the remainder of the money, the remainder of the invoice, the full payment, a month before the wedding. She sent a reminder, actually, in my email, invoice reminder, your payment is due to the Happy Pinecone Cafe. And she has gone in and requested a payment, and this is September 27th, 2021. So keep in mind, my wedding was October 30th. This is a month and 3 days prior to my actual wedding date, even though in the bottom it says your remainder of your payment is not due till the day of service. So she's requested the rest of my money, which is $1,251.56, on September 27th rather than the day of my services, which in hindsight tells me she's going broke trying to make all these refunds to the brides that she had screwed over prior to the day of my wedding, which I knew nothing about until the day of my wedding, unfortunately. Now I'm gonna go over the email thread where I address my allergies. Stop it! My cats are making a ruckus, bro. They cannot keep quiet while I'm trying to record. If I wasn't recording, they wouldn't be loud. This is September 27th. So this is actually the day that the rest of the invoice is due. And I emailed her to let her know that I have some allergies. And I know in the invoice, it says you're supposed to let her know 60 days prior rather than 33 days prior. But once again, this was kind of an afterthought because the allergy note wasn't relevant to the menu I selected. It was only relevant to the additional grazing table that she was providing for free. So I just wanted to let her know, like, if you're still planning on providing this additional thing for free that's not included in my menu, myself and some of my family members have allergies, so I want to make sure that none of these things are provided on the grazing table. And I don't know, like, if this is something that the previous bride has requested for her wedding and she's just bringing like extras. So I want to make sure that if that bride has requested something that I'm allergic to, that it's not on the grazing table. So I say, allergy note is the title of the email. I say, hey Sarah, I apologize for mentioning this at 30 days rather than 60. But my mother and I have a latex allergy that extends to some fruits, including kiwi, banana, mango, and peach. I don't think any of those fruits will be needed for the menu we selected, but I wanted to let you know just in case. Thank you for your time. We are getting very excited and can't wait to enjoy the meal. So that same day, she emails back and she says, no problem. Thank you for letting me know. I would rather be safe than sorry for sure. I am looking forward to it too. Have a great night. Obviously, I've let her know about the allergies. Again, not something that's relevant to my menu, only relevant to what she herself had offered to provide at my wedding. Like I said, these emails continue all the way up until less than a week before my wedding day. So that Monday, October 25th, was my husband's 24th birthday. And obviously the date is up here on the top of the email. She emails me and she says, morning Kendra, looking forward to the wedding this Saturday, touching base, Sarah. So at this point, she's touched base with me. She's like, okay, we're a go for the wedding. The wedding is this Saturday. Today is Monday. So we've got less than a week to go before the wedding. This lets me know that she's got all of my stuff prepared. She's planning on coming to the wedding. And everything is, you know, a full go. So that same day I respond, thank you for touching base. We're very excited as well. So I also forwarded this email to my mom, and again, the reporter who eventually did a story on this also has all of these emails. Now, like I said, the couple days before my wedding were very packed full of different events. Like that Thursday, I had my bridal shower. We went and got our nails done. We had dinner that night for the bachelorette party. We had a combined bachelor and bachelorette party at Junction 35. So we all had dinner there that night. And then the next day was rehearsal. So we had rehearsal set up at 1 o'clock. We did rehearsal all the way until 4. And then at 6, we had rehearsal dinner. So we all drove over to Aubrey's in Sevierville and we had rehearsal dinner there. Then we went back to the house and I hung out with my bridal party here at my house and we had some drinks, talked, things like that. We did that all the way up until like late into in the early morning of October 30th. So we were all here partying and drinking and just, you know, having a fun time all the way up until I believe it was like 12:30 in the morning. So the day of my wedding. Eventually we all went to bed and I got up the next morning at 9 o'clock. I had to be at the venue at 10. So I got up the morning of October 30th at 9 o'clock a.m. and I started packing I already had an emergency wedding kit packed, some of my things packed. That is also linked on my channel, so you can see what I packed like in the months prior to my wedding in that bag. And I put some last minute things in there and I packed all that stuff in my car. I had like water, like a case of water, and I had some snacks for myself and for the bridal party because I planned on snacking and getting ready from 10 a.m. until we took pictures at 1. All of that stuff had to be loaded in my car, obviously the morning of, because that stuff had to be refrigerated. So my husband helped me load all that stuff in the car, and then I was off. I started driving to the venue. That morning, after I left, my husband was obviously awake because he helped me load all that stuff in the car. And he was scrolling through Facebook and he happened upon an article from, I believe it was WBIR or WATE, 6 on your side, one of those news sources on Facebook about our caterer and her company basically dropping the ball and screwing over some brides, either not showing up to their wedding at all or showing up and providing only some of the services that she had been paid for. At this point, this is the first I'm hearing about it. Like he screenshotted the article and he sent me a picture and he said, have you seen this? This is our caterer and I'm just now seeing this. It's the morning of our wedding. So at this point I'm freaking out. I'm driving to the venue and I'm seeing this. He calls me, he lets me know what's going on. He's like, have you ever talked to her over the phone? And I said, no, her phone number is in the email threads, but I've never called her or anything, like gone to eat over there or anything, which again, looking back, we probably should have gone over there, tried the food, visited her location in Gatlinburg. I mean, it's only like 20 or 25 minutes from the house. Once again, I take responsibility for that. I kind of dropped the ball on that. I should have gone over there. But once again, her business taking a complete 180 nosedive into the ground less than 6 months after we booked her was not something in the realm of possibility for me. Not something I was ever thinking about happening. So, and I mean, she had great reviews. I love all the food that she was going to be providing. I know I like that stuff, so I had high hopes for it. You know, I'm not worried about it. I'm obviously putting too much faith in her, but this is not something that I thought would be a reality for me. You know, putting faith in someone who does this for a living and has great reviews and makes money from this, takes people's money to provide these services, I felt like that was something safe to do. So you can weigh in the comments and let me know what you think about that. But I take responsibility for not going over there and trying the food and visiting her and seeing her in person, things like that. But he is like, okay, well, that's fine. I'm not someone who likes to talk to people over the phone. And if you know me at all, that you know that. So corresponding in email was a much more comfortable experience for me, and she was easy to reach via email. So that in my mind was fine. So he's like, okay, well, I'm going to give her a call this morning and make sure that she's going to come. And I said, well, I just heard from her on Monday, which was his birthday. And I was like, she touched base with me and she let me know that she was coming. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, this is kind of a red flag, you know, like this is the first time I'm hearing about it, but she just corresponded with me on Monday. Today's Saturday. So I'm like, you know, I'm thinking there's no way that, you know, that could be a possibility. Like, you know, I'm just in straight denial at this point, you know, like there's no way she's not going to come to my wedding. I just heard from her on Monday. So I get off the phone with him. I show up to the venue. A couple of my bridesmaids are already there. We're unloading the case of water and the snacks and the other things that I brought to the wedding. And we go back into the bridal suite and we start getting ready. One of my bridesmaids, actually my maid of honor, brought Dunkin' Donuts for me and some other people for breakfast. So I'm waiting on her to arrive with our drinks and our food. So she shows up, we start eating. The hair and makeup person is already on venue site. So she was there at 10 o'clock in the morning along with us. So she starts doing people's hair and makeup. We're all eating and everything. We're unpacking everything, you know, like I'm ready to just relax, have a fun time, you know, talk with my bridesmaids, you know, like maybe listen to some music. I brought a speaker, you know, just relax and just enjoy the day. But I hadn't checked my emails that day, and usually I get a lot of spam emails just from, you know, stores and, you know, things, advertising emails that I usually get on a daily basis. So I opened up my email and I was just prepared to swipe away and delete, you know, some of these promotional emails that I get on a daily basis. And I saw this email from the caterer, maybe like the second or third email down from the top, and, you know, it caught my eye and I clicked on it. And I only read a little bit of it before I started freaking out. So this is the day of my wedding, Saturday, October 30th, 9:26 a.m. So this was only half an hour after I woke up that day to get ready and drive over to the venue. So the header it says, today, she says, morning everyone, it is not my intention to do this, but I literally can't make it to your weddings today. I can't handle it mentally. I will get you the money back soon, and I just ask that y'all pray for me, and I promise to make it right. I'm sorry, truly sorry for all of this, Sarah. So this was sent to myself as well as 2 other emails. So I'm assuming the other people that she was supposed to be providing services for their wedding that day, I'm assuming either near the location of our venue or maybe there the day before or the day after. So I just read the beginning of that email and I start freaking out. So I let everybody know, like, the caterer just canceled on me. At this point, I don't think I opened the email until like 11:30, and our ceremony is to begin at 4. So we're roughly like 5 hours out from the ceremony. So she was supposed to begin setup at 3. So you're thinking like 4 hours from now, she's supposed to be here with all of the stuff. She's not coming. So now, with all the services that she was supposed to be providing, I'm left with nothing. No food, no drinks, no wedding cake, no cutlery, no plates, no napkins, no silverware, no drinks, no ice, nothing. No servers, Absolutely nothing. So now, at this point, I only have a couple of hours to find a way to get all of those things back for my wedding. And keep in mind, I'm not the only person that she stood up on or near this exact date. So it's not just me, but it's multiple other brides and other, you know, arrangements that she's canceled on the day of the wedding. Once again, I feel like this is not something that you just accidentally have happen the day of the wedding. When you're planning something like this, of this scale, this magnitude, we're talking 90 people she's supposed to be providing services for. You have to not only buy the food, you have to prepare the food, you have to cook the food, you have to set up all of that stuff, you have to package it for transport, you have to get your 2 servers and make sure that they're all en route to the location. There's a lot of coordination that has to happen in the days leading up to my wedding for this to happen, for her to be able to cater my wedding. So in my mind, if you haven't bought the food by at least Thursday, or I started prepping the food, keep in mind, I don't own a catering service, I don't know how this works, but in my mind, if you haven't at least purchased the food that week, I mean, she emailed me on Monday, so maybe she should be buying and preparing some of these things, the plates, the napkins, the drinks, the silverware, something to bring the ice in with, you know, like, if you don't have those things, at least by Thursday maybe, then that should be the day that you email me and let me know that you cannot make it to my wedding. So I feel like the day of is just inexcusable, because there's a lot of preparation that would have had to happen in the days prior to my wedding, that if they didn't happen, it's already set in stone that you're not going to be able to come. So I feel like justifiably she should have let me know at least 2 or 3 days prior to my wedding that she wasn't going to be able to come, because at that point, if you haven't already made a cognizant effort to prepare and prep the food and the supplies for my wedding, then you know you're not coming. It's just common sense. I'm getting angry again. I mean, I feel like justifiably so, because this is just something I wasn't able to articulate the first take of this video, because I was just so upset and hadn't had time to really process the series of events that happened. But I feel like anybody would have the common sense to know that if you haven't begun preparing this and you've made no effort to begin preparing this, like, in advance to get ready for the wedding, then you know you're not coming. So in my mind, I would like to know the date mentally that she said, I'm not even gonna begin to prepare the things for this wedding. You know, like, at what point in time in her mind did she say, I'm not gonna go buy the food, I'm not gonna go buy the drinks, I'm not gonna prepare the food, you know, maybe she has the food, I'm not gonna cut it, prepare it, I'm not gonna cook it, I'm not gonna package it up, maybe she's already cooked it, I'm not gonna prepare it for transport. At what point in the timeline did she think to herself, I'm not gonna make the steps necessary to attend this wedding? At that point in time is when she should have emailed me, not the day of my wedding, because there's no way that you've bought all this food and you're just not gonna let it go to waste and not bring it. You know, that's my rationale, that's my thinking on this. You can weigh in the comments and let me know what you think, but ultimately that's my opinion. So at that point, I had screenshotted the email and I sent it to my husband, and he said, I know, I spoke to her over the phone before she sent, or around the time that she sent this, because it was about 9:30-ish when I left the house and, you know, was driving over when he saw this email. So this would have been about the time that he called her and asked her if she was going to come. And only when she's called and confronted with, are you coming to my wedding, does she feel the need to send a mass email to myself and the other people she's supposed to have prior engagements with, commitments with. So to me, that's negligent in my mind, because not only was she not preparing for any of these, but only when confronted with my husband calling her did she finally send an email. You know, like, finally let these people know, myself included, that she was not going to be fulfilling her commitments. So you can have your own opinion, but to me, in my mind, this just doesn't make any sense. And if you are any kind of business owner, this is not something that you do. because there's no coming back from this. There's no recovering from this. In my mind, this is premeditated at this point. This is intentional at this point. And a lot of people, I'm sure, feel that way. So even if she had like all of these series of events happening, you know, prior to my wedding, maybe in the weeks or months before my wedding, maybe at that point she should have emailed me and been like, okay, I understand you've given me 50% down. We secured this date. I've got a lot of stuff going on and I want to make sure that you have time to get engagements fulfilled. You know, make sure that you have food at your wedding, that you have drinks at your wedding, that you have cake at your wedding. You know, like, not only a good business owner, but a good person in my mind would be doing those things. Like, how can you in good conscience as a person, not even just a business owner, as a person, let this happen? I'm gonna go ahead and, you know, go into what happened after I got this email. So I messaged my husband and my mom. So at this point, unbeknownst to me, they've known this information since 9:30. It's now 11:30. So for the 2 hours before, you know, in space of time that I didn't know this was happening, my husband had gone to Publix in Pigeon Forge and tried to get a wedding cake. So we had gone there to look at their wedding cakes and we had chosen a naked style cake that had just minimal icing, because I don't like icing, and some fresh fruit on top. So he asked if they could make that like a rush order. Can you make it today? Can we pick it up today? My caterer canceled on us. We don't have a wedding cake. So at first they said no. And then he's like, explain to them, listen, our wedding is today. We need this cake. You're going to make us this cake. And it's like the easiest one that you guys have. Minimal icing, just bake it, stack it together, put it in the box. And they were like, okay, so they finally agreed to make it. So he's at Publix getting the wedding cake. My dad had called the owner of Tequila Spice here in Sevierville, and that's a restaurant that my family and I go to all the time. It's a local Mexican restaurant, locally owned, that we really enjoy, that we are friends with the people who own it on Facebook, go there all the time, good acquaintances with them. And he called the owner of that restaurant and asked him if he could prepare enough food for 50 people, or I believe it was 30 to 50 people. And he said, sure, what would you like? He said, I don't care, whatever you have, you know, food for, you know, things to prepare for, whatever you've got in the restaurant, cook it, we'll take it. So that ended up being kind of like a fajita bar. So sauteed chicken, steak, peppers, tortillas, toppings, chips, queso, and salsa. So he provided all of that stuff for us. And then that wasn't going to be enough food for the amount of guests that we had. So my husband called the owner of Squisito Too in Pigeon Forge, which is another Italian restaurant in Tanger Outlets. We know her personally as well. One of her sons was actually a groomsman in our wedding, and we're good friends with both of her kids. We went to school with them and everything. We're good friends with their family, and my husband called her and asked her if she would be able to prepare enough food for 50 people, and she agreed. She said, we're gonna make it happen regardless, and we're gonna get, you know, our employees in here, and we're gonna just start cooking pasta. And so she ended up cooking some spaghetti meatballs as well as Alfredo. Both of those were absolutely fantastic, by the way. All of the food was fantastic, and I said this in the previous video and I'll say it again. Looking back now, I would not have wanted anybody else to prepare the food. I mean, the food was fantastic. I wouldn't have had it any other way, to be honest with you, because we'd gone to their restaurants hundreds of times before. We knew them personally. I wouldn't have wanted anybody else getting the money we paid them, or, you know, any other food for our guests to be eating. We knew it was going to be delicious, and they came through for us. And, you know, one of the excuses that Sarah was using in, you know, justifying why she didn't attend my wedding or any of the weddings prior, for that matter, was that due to COVID and, you know, a lot of other circumstances, she didn't have the staff to prepare the food, or, you know, do any of the other things that were required for her to attend my wedding. And I can understand that. I can sympathize with that, you know, obviously. But these businesses, these two businesses that we ended up getting the food from, they're also experiencing all of those things: staffing shortages, supply chain issues, food shortages, product shortages, things like that. And they were able to turn that around in less than 6 hours and cater my entire wedding. She had months to prepare. She had my full payment a month and 3 days prior to my wedding to prepare for my wedding. So to me, that's just, the excuse doesn't hold up, because you've got these other 2 restaurants, these 2 businesses that are able to prepare enough food for all of my guests in less than 6 hours and have it ready for us to pick up. And yet she's got months to prepare and she just doesn't do it because these excuses. To me, that just doesn't, doesn't add up. This is going to be a long video. I've got too much to talk about. I had 2 maids of honor. So they both brought their respective boyfriends to the wedding. One of the boyfriends was tasked with going to pick up the wedding cake, which was not set to be ready until I think it was 2:00 p.m. was when it finally was, 1 or 2:00 p.m. was when it was able to be picked up. So he drove in his truck. Keep in mind, I had just met this person the week of my wedding. They had just showed up to Tennessee the week of my wedding. We hung out. I had never met him in person. He drives his personal vehicle over to Publix in Pigeon Forge. Keep in mind, he's never been to Pigeon Forge, in a city he's never been, and picks up our wedding cake and brings it to the venue. Bless his heart. So not only does he do that, but the other boyfriend goes in his own personal vehicle to the restaurant in Sevierville. Never been to Pigeon Forge in Sevierville before. Only first time coming for our wedding. Only met him this week. Okay, the week of my wedding. He goes and he picks up the food. All of the food. So we're talking 2 different restaurant locations. One in Tanger, one in Sevierville. Goes to both locations and picks up all of this food in his personal vehicle and brings it to the venue. So the cake is there, and then the other boyfriend goes and picks up the food. So the cake is there by 2:00. The food isn't set to be ready until like 4:30-ish. Okay guys, so my battery died and so I've moved to the kitchen so I can plug my camera in and kind of just finish this video, because 1, I'm already ready, and 2, I'm gonna roll and I don't have any batteries fully charged right now, so I'm just gonna plug the camera in. I'm gonna keep going, so don't mind the change of location here in the house. If you don't know, all the people in my bridal party, with the exception of 1, which is my sister-in-law, not living in Tennessee at the time, so all of them lived in Indiana. So that includes both of my maids of honor, which are 2 lifelong best friends of mine. Their boyfriends, who also lived in Indiana, came with them, and my cousin, who was my 4th bridesmaid, and she also lives in Indiana. Currently, at least. She's moving to Tennessee. All of my bridal party was traveling from out of state to be at the bridal shower, the rehearsal, and the wedding itself. That's one of the reasons why, 1, I'd never met either of the boyfriends in person. I had spoken to them like Snapchat and, remotely, things like that. But I had never met them in person or really had any extended conversations with them. It was kind of just like communication through my friends. That's one of the reasons why I'd never met them before, and they really just like fully committed, like went all out for our wedding, because we would not have had cake or food without these 2 guys, because they literally drove their personal vehicles around Pigeon Forge and Sevierville picking up our things. So, and that was while the maids of honor, their girlfriends, were giving their speeches and helping prepare and taking photos and everything. So they missed out on a good portion of the events in the wedding. I could not thank these guys enough. Yeah, I cannot imagine having better people in attendance to our wedding. So the rest of our wedding went fine. All of the other vendors showed up. Ceremony was on time, even though it was raining, and of course I was an absolute mess from the time that I read that email about the caterer canceling to pretty much right up until we got our photos taken. And that's why there's not really any pictures of me before I got ready because I was just an absolute sobbing mess. So not only was I upset about the caterer, but I wanted the ceremony to be outside, which ultimately it was, but it rained all day long. When everyone started talking about setting up inside, I got upset again. Literally right before the ceremony, the rain had let up just enough, like into a light sprinkle, for us to be able to go outside and get married on the patio. So that's what we did. We set everything up in like 10 minutes before the ceremony, and we went outside and we got married, and it only took about 15 minutes for the ceremony to proceed. We got married outside, came back inside, and we had the reception inside, which was our plan all along, which eventually, it all worked itself out in the end. And then we got a little bit of a break in the rain right before the food showed up, which was like 4:30, 4:45, I believe. and we were able to take pictures outside. So that's what you'll see if you watch our video, or if you go on my social medias, you can see our pictures that we took outside. So we were able to get some photos outside, which I was really happy with. So even though it did rain, which is supposed to be good luck on your wedding day, we did end up having the ceremony outside, which is what we wanted all along, and we got some photos outside, which is also what we wanted. So yeah, the rest of the wedding pretty much went off without a hitch. All of the guests seemed to really enjoy the food that we ended up with, which probably is, we probably should have done that to begin with and just got our catering from those restaurants to begin with, because I wouldn't have had it any other way. And a lot of the guests, even though we kind of ate and did our reception a little bit out of order, so we had the cake first because that's what showed up first, and then we did first dances and speeches and things like that, and then finally when the food arrived we were able to eat, which I believe was around 4:45 or 5 o'clock, and we got to do photos before we ate, which we weren't planning on doing, but that's just how the sequence of events ended up playing out because of the catering situation. But all of our guests seemed to agree that if we hadn't told everyone that we were having an issue with the caterer, they would not have known otherwise, because, you know, the food was great and everyone got enough food to eat, and, you know, it was fine. You know, in the end it was fine. I'm sure a lot of the other brides were not so lucky, I can imagine, because, you know, it required an extra, like, over $1,000 to emergency cater our wedding with the food and the cake. And we had ordered a box set of cutlery, plates and serving dishes and forks and things off of Amazon before we booked the caterer. So this was probably in maybe March of 2021, because we were originally going to just have that stuff for ourselves and you know, have the caterer just provide the food and drinks. So we had cups and everything. So even though everyone had to reuse their cups for their drinks and their alcohol, we did end up having that as spare. So we had to bring that. I'm really glad we didn't end up selling that before the wedding, because we ended up using every bit of it. And it was pretty nice. I mean, it's just plastic silverware and plates and cutlery and cups and things like that. But it still went with our theme, the colors and everything like that. So that ended up working out really well in our favor. And my brother went out and got a case of every kind of soft drink in the store. So one case of every drink he could find, and a bunch of water. And we got a cooler from the house and we filled it up with ice, and we were able to get all the drinks for everybody. And of course the bartender was there, and she was able to serve all of the alcohol. We had wine and beer at our wedding. And we had a wine mix, which was like a sangria. So it was like an apple cider spiced sangria. And we had just regular wine, we had sangria, and we had 2 different kinds of beer. So all of that went off without a hitch. If you watch the vlog, you can see us all just having a good time and just, you know, being thankful that everything worked out the way it did. You know, we have just a great community here and people that we were able to call upon and ask for help. And we were able to get that. So I can imagine anybody else in a different situation would have had their wedding just completely ruined by this. You know, not having any food, not having a wedding cake, not having any drinks. You know, easily that could have gone a completely different way for us if it hadn't been for our friends, our family, and our community here in Tennessee. So I can't imagine it working out any other way. And, you know, in the end, I'm so glad that it did work out that way. You know, we were able to really shine a spotlight on these businesses that were able to come through for us on our wedding day and really promote them and be able to support them financially and you know, reach out to them and thank them after the wedding. So yeah, so the next day, October 31st, was Halloween, and that was on a Sunday. And a lot of my family had stayed Saturday night into Sunday and were leaving on Sunday night or Monday morning. So we spent Halloween with our family, and we went out to Pigeon Forge and we had dinner. You know, we got to see some Halloween decorations, we went shopping, and it was just really fun and relaxing, you know, like a good way to de-stress after everything that happened on the wedding day. You know, ultimately we got married, and that's, you know, what we wanted. We really ultimately didn't care how, you know. Ultimately we really only cared about getting married, but you know, the stresses of not having a wedding cake and food for your guests is a lot. I feel like if it had been a different caterer or a different vendor, you know, it might not have been such a tragic ordeal. But you know, that's probably one of the worst vendors possible that you could have cancel on you, especially the day of your wedding, because so much prep has to go into catering. It's not just as simple as, oh, find another DJ who can set up, you know. It's a lot of preparation and planning goes into catering, especially for 90 guests and your wedding cake included. So that was a lot to have to turn around in the span of less than 6 hours. But it ended up working out, you know, and working out for the better, because I wouldn't have wanted anyone else to cater our wedding or you know, be there for us. So like I said, Halloween, we just relaxed. We spent some time with family. A lot of my guests went home that afternoon. And then Monday was November 1st. And the morning of November 1st, I was reached out to by a news reporter from WATE 6 on Your Side. And she had saw a post from my dad on Sevierville Speaks Out about thanking the businesses that emergency catered our wedding, including Publix, because they did emergency bake a cake for us. And it had received a lot of traction on Facebook and on the internet. So she had reached out to me because I was the first local bride who had been affected that she had heard of. So she wanted to get the perspective of a local bride who had issues with the Happy Pinecone Cafe, because a lot of the other brides that she had heard of, and the brides that were reported on October 29th and 30th on the news report, were not local brides. They were out-of-state brides. So she wanted to do our story, and so that morning all of my stuff was scattered about too. Like I had packed all of my makeup and all my things, and they were in my husband's car at work in order to get ready for the news report, because she wanted to film. Like she contacted me, I believe, at like 11 or 11:30. She wanted to drive down from Knoxville to my house and film in like an hour. She wanted to be there like 12:30. And I was like, there's no way that I can drive over to my husband's work, get my makeup out of the back of his car, drive back home, do my makeup, get ready, and be ready to film in an hour. So I believe she ended up showing up at like maybe 12:45 or 1 o'clock. So my mom drove to my husband's work, got my makeup, I showered, drove up to my parents' house, got ready in like the span of 15 minutes, and sat down and filmed this interview with this reporter. So if you guys haven't seen it, I will insert it here in the video. And this is just a recording that I took on my phone. It aired the same day. I believe at 5 o'clock p.m. It aired on WATE 6 on Your Side that afternoon. So I'll go ahead and insert that clip here.
Another bride has come forward saying a Gatlinburg catering company emailed her the morning of her wedding saying they wouldn't be there. This after they had already paid them more than $2,500. We first told you about the Happy Pinecone Cafe on Friday. WATE 6 on Your Side reporter Lexi Spivak sat down with that bride today. She recounted the scramble they were in to get food for their guests and how the community came together.
Every detail of the Patton Kingery wedding on October 30th, 2021 was planned down to the T. Well, at least that's what the bride, now Kendra Patton Kingery, thought when she left the house Saturday morning.
I got a call from my husband and he was like, hey, don't freak out. I saw this article on Facebook this morning about the same caterer who's doing our wedding and how she had kind of stood some brides up.
Her groom tried to get in touch with the owner of the Happy Pinecone Cafe. When they did, it wasn't the news they were hoping for.
She said, morning everyone, it is not my intention to do this, but I literally can't make it to your weddings today. I can't handle it mentally. I will get you the money back soon, and I just ask that y'all pray for me, and I promise to make it right. I'm sorry, truly sorry for all of this.
They were left with nothing.
And I just was like in shock, because she was supposed to bring the cake, cupcakes, all the food, plates, silverware, napkins, cups, drinks, ice, 2 servers.
Little did she know her soon-to-be husband, along with their families and friends, already were figuring it out.
She's like, yeah, we've already got it taken care of. Melinda, my aunt, is going to get ice. She's going to get a cooler.
Local businesses also stepped up to the plate.
We always go to one of the local Mexican restaurants around here. It's called Tequila Spice. My dad gave him a frantic call at 10 in the morning and was like, hey, I need you to come through for me. Can you make food for 50? The other business was Squisito Too in Tanger Outlets. They were like, hey, I know this is short notice. We really need you to come through for us. How much pasta can you make?
So after at least another $1,300 to get the supplies they needed day of, Kendra is thankful everyone had fun and that she still got to marry the love of her life. But she could have done without the last minute stress.
So if she had known 2 or 3 weeks prior that she wasn't going to be able to come to my wedding, that would have been nice to have heads up at least. To not show up and let me know like 6 hours before the ceremony, that's inexcusable to me.
She hopes other brides see this story and any warning signs sooner than the morning of their big day. Reporting in Gatlinburg, I'm Lexi Spivak with WATE 6 on your side.
Now, Kendra and her family have not heard about any refunds. We did reach out to the owner of Happy Pine Cone Cafe, and she emailed us a statement. In part, it said, my plan is to stand and repay. I can't change the past, but I can reevaluate, correct, and grow my business stronger for the future. We replied to that email asking when she thought she'd be able to repay or refund these brides and their families, and she said, quote, when people stop destroying my business.
Well, according to Visit,
it's a relatively short clip, but you guys can see I kind of go through and explain the sequence of events that happened and kind of just really shine a spotlight on these businesses that took over and helped us out, you know, and made it right that day. So really that was the main goal of doing the news report, was to really just give a shout out to these local businesses that stepped up. So that was November 1st, Monday. So we were trying to figure out how we were going to get reimbursed from the Happy Pine Cone Cafe. So the payments were from 2 separate banks. So I believe the first payment was from TVA Credit Union, and that was the first deposit, so the 50% down, and that would have been on June 18th of 2021. So this was the day after we received the invoice from her. So if you remember, I talked about having correspondence with Sarah between June 16th and June 17th regarding the number of guests and the invoice, the official invoice and everything like that. So the next day we ended up paying her the 50% down to secure the date. So that amount was $1,251.56. So exactly half of the full payment. So that one was made from TVA Credit Union Bank, and then the second payment, the second installment, which was due on September 27th, I believe we paid it on September 27th, that was from Smart Bank. And because that payment was within a month of the services not being provided, they were able to go ahead and refund that, I believe, just dispute the charges and refund it. But because the TVA Credit Union purchase was more than a month. Okay, I had to change SD cards there. So like I was saying, because the payments were made through 2 separate banks at 2 different times, one being more recent and one being a couple months prior, there were 2 different disputes that went about regarding how to get reimbursed from that, whether it be through the bank themselves or from Sarah in the form of a refund from her account. So at the time that I filmed this the first time, I didn't know how this would play out, and I didn't know if I was even going to be able to talk about this, because we had actually filed a police report against Sarah, and I didn't know if I would be able to talk about an ongoing investigation because we'd filed charges against her. So the day of the news report, Monday, November 1st, we did the news report early in the afternoon, so like 12:45 or 1 p.m. It didn't take very long, and she got some footage of my dress, and we did the report, the interview, and she went up to the Happy Pine Cone Cafe location in Gatlinburg and got some footage of the location. So she was able to drive up there and see that they were open and still, you know, serving people. So which was really surprising to me. But she was able to get some footage, and she got comments even from Sarah. She was able to, you know, ask her some questions and get a response. And obviously, if you've seen the clip that I inserted here, then you'll be able to see her response. But at the time that I recorded this, the first time, I didn't know what the outcome would be, and if I would even be able to post this or talk about it online. So at this point now, we don't have an ongoing investigation. There's the charges were dropped and everything. We made the police report on November 1st. So we were in the car and we were getting ready to go over to these local businesses and thank them in person. We wanted to go ahead and tip their cooking staff, their chefs and everything. So, and thank them in person. So we were in the car and we got a call we called the sheriff's department before we left, and then we were in the car on our way to go thank these businesses and give them tips. And we got a call from the sheriff's department, and they took our information and filed a report for theft, because technically it was a theft of services, I suppose, because we paid her and she didn't fulfill her services. So it was kind of a theft, and it was a pretty good amount of money considering we paid her almost $2,500, and then we had to go on with the added expense of getting emergency catering, which was another like $1,100. So I don't even know if that includes the cake. It was about $1,100 including the food and the cake. So not only that, but we had the emotional problems, the emotional damage
emotional damage
of just the situation, and having our day almost be ruined, and being upset most of the day. So yeah, so we went ahead and we filed that report, and the police were able to talk to her, and they ultimately concluded that she had no malicious intent, and it wasn't her intent to not fulfill her commitments and not, provide the services that we paid her for. So they ultimately didn't move forward with any criminal charges. Basically, they just said it's a civil dispute. You can take her to court for the money, you can sue her, or ultimately you just have to wait for her to reimburse you. I believe that same day, or maybe the next day, I got an invitation to a group on Facebook called Brides Affected by the Happy Pine Cone. And as I came to find out, there were about a total of 32 other brides who were also affected by the Happy Pine Cone, meaning either she did not show up to their wedding or she didn't provide the full scope of services that she'd guaranteed upon the deposit being paid. That doesn't include just weddings. That also includes other catering events that she had agreed to, so rehearsal dinners and bridal showers and things of that sort. In the days following the interview with WATE and the police report being filed, I found out all of this other information. And when you think about it, 32 times even the cheapest menu, which is $15 a head, that's a lot of money. 33 including me, and I paid for one of the medium tier packages, $25 per head, and some of her menu options go up to $45 per person. So I can't imagine, if they're out of some of the 32 people or 33 people affected, some of them paid $45 per person. I mean, I can't imagine how much money ultimately she made from these 33 people affected, by this. And she had made a couple of posts on Facebook, and I'll see if I can find the screenshots and maybe insert them. she was talking about how she was responding to some of the Google reviews, the bad reviews left by brides, which I didn't leave any bad reviews. One, because we were pursuing criminal litigation and charges against her. I didn't want any sort of defamation or anything on, you know, my behalf on her Google page. But, you know, there were plenty of other people taking up for us, you know, and other brides responding to her Google page and leaving bad reviews. So I felt like other people were taking care of that. Her response was she had a couple of different excuses. One being she was going through a divorce. She had a couple of kids, so she was, you know, raising her kids by herself, and obviously that's expensive. And she was affected by COVID, is what she claimed, and, you know, having staff shortages and supply chain issues and things like that, which I understand, I can sympathize, you know, with. And, you know, I understand she's probably having a lot of personal issues with her life, you know, going through divorce. Obviously, I've never been through a divorce. I can't imagine the mental toll that would take on her having to do that with her kids and everything. But it's regardless of what's going on in your life, if you are a business owner or even a stand-up person, you know, you can't use those excuses to hurt other people and not fulfill your commitments with other people. Ultimately, I think she took responsibility for that, but she didn't handle it in a way that I thought was of good conscience. So and I'm sure the other 32 brides affected don't think so as well. So I guess there was going to be a class action. They were talking about having a class action lawsuit with some of these brides who were affected to try to get their money back, because what was happening was she was taking deposits from other brides for their wedding date that would be in the future, and instead of using those to buy supplies for their wedding, she was using that money to reimburse the brides that she didn't show up to their wedding. So, you know, like I said earlier in the video, the remaining money that I paid her on September 27th was instead used to reimburse brides that she hadn't shown up to their wedding, rather than using that money to buy supplies for my wedding. So at whatever point, I'm assuming September 27th, when she requested the rest of my payment, that is when I would assume that she had decided not to attend my wedding, because rather than use my money to pay for the supplies for my wedding, she used that to reimburse the other brides that she had failed to attend their wedding. So at that point, that is when I would have expected hey, I can't take this money from you because I'm not going to show up to your wedding, you know. So at least that would have given us 33 days to find other people to cater our wedding and fulfill the commitments that she had bailed out on. So that's just my opinion. You may have other opinions, but I think my opinion is pretty informed. So, considering the sequence of events and the things that I found out after the wedding. Obviously, this stuff was unbeknownst to me on the day that I filmed the first time, so I had to re-evaluate what I said in the first video and make sure I include all this information this time around so that you guys can get a full picture and a full story of what happened. Oh my gosh, okay, I'm having all kinds of issues with SD cards and batteries, I'm sorry. Okay, like I said, we were trying to figure out how we were going to get reimbursed for the services that we never actually ended up getting from the caterer, whether that be through both of our banks or from Sarah herself, which, you know, as we come to find out with Sarah's financial situation, we figured we probably wouldn't be getting any money back from her anytime soon. So we went ahead and disputed that with the banks, and the first bank, which was Smart Bank, since the transaction had occurred so close to the date that we asked for reimbursement, I think they were able to go ahead and do that for us. And then we tried to dispute the charge through TVA. That charge was made on June 18th of 2021. That was the very first deposit that we put down on the catering. And on November 3rd of 2021, we got a letter from them saying that they had not yet completed the investigation regarding the dispute. So the account was credited provisionally that amount of money until they finished their investigation regarding the dispute. I believe the dispute is still ongoing and still pending. So we have provisionally been credited that amount of money back into our account, but we are still waiting to see if we'll be able to keep it. I imagine that we will. but it'll probably take a little while longer for us to settle that investigation. So we had been refunded the half of the amount, the second partial amount that we were charged from the Happy Pinecone Cafe, but we're still waiting on the dispute from the deposit that we made the first time. So that is the current situation in terms of the reimbursement, which I didn't know the first time that I filmed this. So that's the situation regarding that. And you know, it's the day that I'm filming this is January 28th, Friday, January 28th. It's been about 3 months since all of this went down, so kind of a lot of time, 90 days, but I mean, you know, I'm not really sure how long these investigations take to unfold. So yeah, it's been about 90 days, so we're still waiting on the second dispute, but that's where that stands today, which I didn't know the first time that I filmed this. Another thing which is interesting is my mom had actually received a text message from Sarah, I believe recently. Let me see if I can find that text message. My dad had actually tried to call the Happy Pinecone Cafe, or Sarah's cell phone, I believe is what was traced back to her business. He had tried to call her regarding setting up contact information for an eventual reimbursement from her, and I believe he called her on November 1st, which was the day that we did the interview with the news reporter. So he recorded that, and nothing really came out of that call. He called and she picked up, and probably because she didn't know his number, but she picked up and he explained the situation. And she said, oh, okay, well, I'm with a customer. I'll get back to you. I'll call you back. Which, it was like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, so I highly doubt she was with anybody, but she never ended up calling him back. So we recorded that too. But finally, let me see. My mom received a text message from Sarah's number on December 14th at 11:41 a.m. And she says, I'll be sending payment extremely soon. I received a loan from the SBA. Please send me a good contact address or where to send the payment. Thank you. So she had been planning to reimburse us the full amount. So she says, my mom says, a check can be made out to either myself or my husband, gives her the address. She says, will do. SBA said 5 to 10 days, so I haven't seen it take that long. Truly sorry for everything. Have a blessed Christmas. My mom responds, I hope everything works itself out and you're able to rebuild. Thank you. Sarah responds, it has. I was in really bad shape mentally. Truly sorry. Divorce will do that. But God, I'm going back to my first calling of recovery ministry. So all is well. I'm just thankful I can make things right. I feel much better now. So this text is interesting because later, just recently, I found out that Sarah has reopened her restaurant under a different name, same location in Gatlinburg. It's now Malachi 3 Cafe. Same location in Gatlinburg. You can Google it on Google Maps, and that location will come up. So it's interesting to me that not only has she reopened her restaurant business under a different name, she was talking about changing her name legally and her kids' legal names so that she can rebrand herself basically under a different name and under a different business name. But then here in this text message, which was just like a little over a month ago, she says she's going back to her first calling of recovery ministry. So I'm not really sure what the outcome will be on that, but I just wanted to give this update because this once again was not included in the first video that I recorded. So yeah. So I'm assuming that she was able to finally get a loan, but my understanding was that every single time these brides requested payment from her, it was being drawn from her bank account, which would basically drain her entire bank account, which would overdraw her account and ding her credit score and all these things. It was just a never-ending, cycle. So she was having a hard time getting a loan because her credit score had been dinged so many times by overdrawing her account and, being in the negatives and having to take credit out and things like that. So that was my understanding at the time that I filmed this video the first time. So, I guess finally she was able to get a loan and reimburse us for that payment. So I'm assuming that it will eventually work itself out with the disputes in the bank. So the day before, December 13th, is when I found out that she had rebranded her business at the same location in Gatlinburg. So you can see, you guys can Google it, it's public information, but you guys can see that she's reopened her business under a different name. So I will leave that up to you guys in terms of if you, in the future, or anybody you know wants to consider using her for catering at any event, regardless, whether it be a wedding or some other ceremony. But I just want to make it known to you guys that this is the same person, even if she has changed her name or changed her business name or business location or any combination of those things, that this is the same person. So I will leave that up to you guys to make that decision on whether or not you want to use her business. But all of the things that I've come out with have been factual receipts, and some have been my opinion, but I believe my opinion is informed, so you guys can do with that information what you will, whether that be using her in the future or staying away from her business entirely, which my suggestion to you would be the latter. But considering her business took such a sharp turn in as little as 4 months, you know, I'll leave that determination up to you, but I would say it's probably not a safe bet at this point, given all the information that I've provided in this video. So that's the update on those things that I didn't have when I filmed the first time, so hopefully that will give a better overall picture of the sequence of events that went on here, so you guys can get the full story. There won't have to be a part 2, and I'll tie everything up with a neat little bow. Yeah, so I think that's all the information I have for you guys. I believe there was a lawyer who was doing freelance work on the class action lawsuit with the other brides. I wasn't a part of that class action lawsuit that they were considering because we had filed charges independently, and then our bank had decided to refund us the partial amount, and then the other bank had preemptively refunded us. So I think our situation was pretty much working itself out without the lawsuit. I don't know that they're pursuing a class action at this point in time. There were some issues with the people being rude to the lawyer and the legal consultants that they had on the case, so at this point in time I'm not really sure if they're really pursuing anything as a class action. There may be some brides that are doing it independently. I'm unaware of that situation as it stands currently, but that may or may not be public information at some point, so you guys can look into that for yourselves. But as long as nothing else comes up, I probably won't update after this video, because my situation's pretty much settled. But like I said, you guys feel free to look into that at a later date, and if anything bigger comes out, then maybe I'll update. But that's pretty much it. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think about the situation, your opinions, if you'll use her in the future, if you would ever consider it, and things like that. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and ring that bell notification to be notified of when I post again. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.